In this video, I'm going to be building 3 epic Star Wars battles in 5 minutes, 50 minutes, and 5 hours. Let's get started. Beginning with the 5-minute build and heading to a very relevant part of Star Wars media, Ahsoka. I really loved the lightsaber battle in the forest and thought it'd be perfect to translate into LEGO, especially with the new minifigures that we got in the T6 shuttle, which really are fantastic. I began my 5-minute journey by building a small base, adding pieces onto the side to create a smooth freeform design. With 2 sides done, I then turned to the top of the MOC, making sure to add in dark red reconic trees. I then filled in the final 2 sides. This left me with a few seconds to add the minifigures. I added Ahsoka on one side and Morak on the other side, clashing sabers. I've got to say, I think this MOC turned out pretty well for just a small 5-minute build. It still incorporates the details and is easily recognizable as the scene from Ahsoka. And spoiler alert, I've got to say I was disappointed that Morak wasn't more of a cooler character and just evaporated into a puff of smoke. But let me know what you think of this first build. It's now time to head on to our 50-minute build. But before we do, it's time for me to tell you a bit about the best place to buy LEGO minifigures and today's video sponsor, Whatnot. We got an upcoming stream on the 18th of October at 8 PM UK time. It's a Wednesday. There should be loads of good fun. We have a ton of different minifigures from both Star Wars, Marvel, and Indiana Jones, including some of the new Marvel CMF and lots more. We have tons of awesome clones, including the newest Phase 1. We have OG Phase 2. With the old 212th, we have the new 212th. We have this red Jedi minifigure, loads of different Imperials, 501st, much more. There's some awesome stuff in here. And everything, including that dewback, will be starting for just £1. It's worldwide shipping, so anywhere you are, come along. You can sign up and get £10 or $15 free to spend if you use the link in the description down below. And during the stream, I'll also be giving away these 3 sets that you see here. So we have this awesome Marvel set that I actually haven't built myself yet, but looks amazing, as well as these 2 Star Wars sets here, which also look fantastic. I can't wait for this stream, guys. It's going to be a ton of fun. You definitely don't want to miss it. So when you head over to Whatnot, make sure to follow me and bookmark the stream, and then you definitely won't miss it. And again, if you sign up with that link, you can get £10 or $15 for free. That's Wednesday the 18th of October at 8 PM UK time. I'll see you guys there. Back to the video now, and it wouldn't be a Star Wars battle without including some clone troopers of some sort. So for the second 50-minute build, I chose a scene I've never done from season 4 of the Clone Wars on Ringo Vinda, where the 501st and the Doom Legion are fighting against the Separatists in these small hallways. Okay, I'm starting with the small base, and we're going to basically be building a flat floor that ramps up and then up again. So this is going to be a pretty complicated design, but hopefully this should turn out pretty well. I'm basically going to be putting these pieces in just to work out exactly the angles and have everything stopping, I think, and sort of work out where the angles are going to start to slope up, because we see a nice sort of sloping panel technique within Ringo Vinda. So basically we're going to build individual panels that go along here, connecting up and across. So let's get started with that. Pretty much the entire MOC is going to be built using the snot technique, which means the studs are not on top, so they're facing to the side. Okay, so our first panel is now created. You can see it basically can be folded into 3 sections, so it's going to kind of go like this. That's going to be kind of like the vibe of the hallway here. We've got a nice blue pattern. I think, if my maths is correct, we should have 4 of these that will go along the hallway with little spaces in between, and that'll add some nice details and have these nice light blue, transparent blue, clear light areas that we see in the hallway. So fingers crossed we'll be able to get all of these done. I've added a few studs so the droids can stand on this first section here, and then we'll have the clones coming from this section over here. But we're going to be pressed for time, so I better hurry up. I essentially then had to recreate this section over and over again, although I had to ensure that the spacing between each of these segments was perfect so that the full MOC would be symmetrical and would fit perfectly within the base. If you're wondering why I keep leaning down, it's because my giant bin of dark bluish grey bricks is down here, and we're going to need a lot of them for this build. I'm particularly happy with what I came up for this bit here, because obviously you can see I've used a bit of snot here, so I wouldn't be able to just put a 1x4 across here. So I took this piece, which just basically has a groove with 2 studs on either side, and that basically fits perfectly over there and holds that in nice and tightly. So that really was quite a nice technique to come up with, and that's definitely saved me in this section here. But we're basically almost halfway there now, so we need to get grinding, and yeah, we still have a decent bit left to go. So that's 3 out of the 4 panels now done. Time to finish this off. With the time running down, it was really time to speed this up and to get this 4th panel created as quickly as possible. Otherwise, of course, had to make sure I was doing this right and that it would fit. Okay, and the panel is now fully complete, which looks really good. But now we have to basically fit it into the MOC. We have about a few minutes left to quickly build up the black border around the back so it looks nice and clean. And hopefully this should fit in nicely. Okay, look at that. That's a perfect fit. And we're starting to look like Ringo Vinda. So now we just need to basically fill in the back section here and we are done. So yeah, I need to stop talking so we can get on and finish that. I'd previously tiled off around the back section of the MOC, so I stripped the tiles and built up a layer of black bricks. I'm literally having to steal these black slope pieces off of my old Lego store MOC because yeah, we're completely out of those and I didn't even consider that. So yeah, this is getting a bit improvised towards the end here. But I pushed on and continued piling up the layers of black bricks. Just one more layer of bricks to go and we are finished. Now I'm just going to quickly tile off this top section and we'll be looking pretty good. So we'll use some black tiles to cap off the top, and the Ringo Vinda mock is complete. That is pretty sick. I'm really happy with the way this is looking. So yeah, let's add some minifigures and get a nice cool battle scene set up. I realised this top section looked a little bit weird here with this gap, so I quickly put together a little extra bit here with the time I had left just to cap it off a little bit more and advance that wall a little bit higher, and I think that made a lot of difference. I then populated the hallway with a couple of cargo crates for the clones and droids to take cover behind. And for the clone troopers, I grabbed the infamous Doom Legion. Obviously LEGO haven't made these are a custom, and I paired them with the 501st troopers as well as of course ARC Trooper 5s. But to go up against them we have the commando droids. I grabbed a handful of them, placing them on the left hand side of the mock, and then went through and posed the clones, one of which is holding a shield which we actually see in the Ringo Vinda scenes, and the others are putting down some covering fire as they charge forward down through the hallways. I have to say I think this is pretty recognizable as the Ringo Vinda scene, and I think I created that hallway pretty nicely. Wouldn't you like to see this as a diorama? I think this would be incredible. Okay, it's 5 hour time and I'm going to be taking 2 of these 32 by 32 base plates and turning them into a giant battle of Mimban. Mimban is that planet from Solo and I've always wanted to create it, so I'm definitely excited for this one. We've got our timer set and we should have plenty of time to build in this one, so I'm excited for what we can create. Let's get started. I began by creating a border all around the mock, leaving a little gap for something that we're going to put in later on. I then built this up a couple of bricks high and then started to work on some of the things that I'd be putting into the actual battle terrain. Obviously we're going to be going with a lot of brown and dark brown for this, but I sprinkled in a bit of light tan in some darker, deeper areas of mud where we have some sort of bomb craters and stuff like that. Okay, so as you can see we're just under 45 minutes in now and we've done probably about a quarter of the work here. This is obviously almost finished. There'll probably be a few more details in this area, but we've got some nice sort of bomb shells here. These are sort of just little craters that the stormtroopers and stuff can hide in, or maybe the rebels will be coming from this side probably. We're mixing in some dark brown. You can see I've been in a great building mood because you can see there's just a ton of different pieces scattered on the desk. You know you're building well when you're just making an absolute mess. I want to build a nice trench here and do lots of detail into there, and hopefully this should go pretty well. Back to building, and I built another one of those craters, a slightly larger one this time in the dead center of the mock. And once that one was in, I ended up plating off the entire upper section of the mock, ready to add details in on top of this later on. But before I came back to detailing, I got a bit bored of that, so I went into the trenches and went ahead and started to lay down a pattern for the floor with little bits of tan and mud still in there to create the base walkway. And then I went in and lined up a few different walls to get some nice ideas for where the trench was going to be and how it was going to look once we finished it off. I then also plated off the final section just to the right of that as well. And that brings us just over halfway, and we've done a decent amount of work. You can see we started to construct the trenches here on this side. Obviously there's going to be a load more details in here. We're going to have some curved angles and stuff like that in here. It's going to look much better than it is right now. And we've pretty much finished the terrain on more or less half of the mock, so that's looking pretty good. And I'm very excited to get some more building done very soon. So let's get back to it and finish off with the next half of the build. For this I started to add the details into the trenches, including loads of different curved elements to make the trench flow a bit more smoothly. And then I also plated off most of the areas, adding in a few different details which you'll see later on, and then turned my attention back to the terrain where I added loads more dark brown and regular brown slopes, tiles and curves to give a nice flowing effect to the battle and make it look nice and dirty and muddy to represent the Mimban terrain. With the entire mock now almost finished, I pretty much then went ahead and added loads of different bits of dead shrubbery to the mock just to add a little bit more, I was going to say life, but death to the mock I guess, and I sprinkled this across the entire upper section. And with those plants in there, we pretty much finished the upper section of the mock. You can see it's looking nice and sort of undulating, not too flat, and plenty of details sprinkled across there, and I think it looks really nice with a couple of details in the trenches as well. But we did have a lot of time left on the clock. I had just under 2 hours, and I thought that would be the perfect amount of time to build something that's synonymous with the Mimban terrain and what we see in Solo, and that is the AT-DT. I actually spent a few minutes trying to design my own, and I've never really designed vehicles before, but it really didn't come together very well, so I quickly hopped onto Rubricable, a website where you can buy tons of different mocks and creations with parts lists and instructions. So I quickly bought all of that, found all the pieces in my collection, and got back to building. Of course, if you include all the time it took to find the pieces, this probably was just over 5 hours, but building wise this pretty much took me to the end of the 5 hours, and the AT-DT came together way better than I could have ever hoped to design for myself. I really think it's a beautiful model, however it is slightly flimsy, and I did have a ton of problems when putting this together as well as when posing this and everything like that, and I ended up actually putting it on top of a stand here. But with that being said, let's move into the minifigures, and I grabbed 5 custom Mimban troopers that look absolutely fantastic. These guys are beautiful customs, and I really love the way they look. I also grabbed my Tobias Beckett minifigure and the one and only Newman or Mud Trooper that I have in my collection. These guys are so expensive, but I'm glad I've got just the one for this mock. The final trooper for the Imperials was a Mortar Trooper, who definitely looks a little bit too clean for Mimban, but he's going to be placed in the trench. And of course then I had to create the militia that they were fighting against, so I created a few rebel soldiers with a couple of little details, backpacks and different weapons, and started to pose them on the mock. But before I placed them, I placed the Imperials. I added a small step here so one of them can peek over the edge of the trench and provide some covering fire. Tobias Beckett and a Mud Trooper are running through the centre, with a Mortar Trooper just slightly in front of him in this small cutout area. I placed a small ladder on the edge of the trench. Finally then added 3 troopers heading over the top, ready to charge towards those rebels, and a driver in the AT-DT of course. I placed the 4 rebels across the back, one with the sniper, one with the rocket launcher who's aiming at the AT-DT, but he looks a little frightened to pull the trigger there, one running with a pistol and one getting shot back into one of the craters. Whilst being relatively simple, I really love the way this mock came together. The AT-DT adds a nice touch, and it really has a sort of World War I kind of trench vibe to it. In my latest video I built a Star Wars battle being Scarif, as well as a couple of other epic movie battles, so definitely go check that one out if you enjoyed this video. And if you got this far in the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button. You clearly enjoyed the content. We're nearly at 100,000 subscribers, and it would mean a ton if you helped me on my way there. But thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you over at another video. Goodbye.